Hello and welcome to the program Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio. My name is Mute Olori. On the program, we celebrate women, our achievements, we talk about our struggles and all that affects us as women. And we also showcase government policies and women who are doing great things in our society. So this is the right place to be for information, education, and empowerment. Today on the show, we will be discussing with the Managing Director of PRI Global Ventures Limited and the Chief Formulator of Sila Organics Trademark Brand, Priscilla Akwansi Nwosu. She has more than a decade of experience in administration and entrepreneurial training. She's passionate about the production and use of shea butter, women empowerment, and national transformation through the family units. So today on the show, she's currently supporting more than 100 women through business, entrepreneurship training, and access to international markets. She does this through an NGO she co-founded, Shared Integrated Global Foundation. It's so nice having you on the show today.
Thank you.
And we're going to be looking at entrepreneurship and we're going to be looking at shea butter. It's something that we know and it's been there for years. But there is what you're doing with it that we want to begin to focus on and see how Nigerian women will now begin to meet up with international standards. So, but my first question would be, who is an entrepreneur?
An entrepreneur is, I'll use a woman now, is that woman who look at what is around her, put it together and take it out there to make not just money out of, but to give, to make people's life different. That's what I believe an entrepreneur should be, because we don't just go out selling, whether you're selling bricks or you're selling groundnut. It should be not just for profit, but that what that product you're selling will do for that person whom you're selling it to. So the entrepreneurial mindset need to change, that beside just making money and profit, it is that product is of great benefit to the person to whom you're selling whatever product you're taking out there to.
So is it easy for women to think this way other than the other way, which is profit-oriented? I mean, put into consideration the hurdles we face.
Yes, most women. Because incidentally, before you start anything, you start from your home. When you're let's say, for example, getting your child's lunch box ready, whether it's in a box or in that little basket, the first thought is the nutrient that this little meal will do for this little child to grow up to become like me. So that thought, women go out with that thinking that when we get this thing together and we send it out there, this is what it will do. So it's not just the money that we'll get, which is good, but the first thought is that what the other person will feel about what you just either sold to him or her or give to the person.
Now, they say the percentage of women that are into entrepreneurship are far more than we have with men. And 70% of those women are the local ones who are just in the market selling little things. Now, do you think that your definition of entrepreneurship, do you think it fits into the Nigerian woman? And if it does it really help her to grow as an entrepreneur?
Oh, absolutely. That was why when I started my business, I thought to go to the grassroots. I love working with women. It doesn't matter whether she works as a CEO in a big organization. Working with women at the grassroots has taught me that these women can do anything. When shea is not in season, we do groundnut. When groundnut is not in season, we do millet. When millet is not in season, in fact, we do corn. So a woman at the grassroots, it might look like she has everything that she can easily just change to become a business. But you see, sometimes the lady at the grassroots needs some kind of push and a kind of expansion on how best to take this product where she make a fantastic profit without hurting what the product should do for the next person that she sells it to.
So it's that push, that's where you and your organization
That's what we
comes
do.
in. Okay, for some years now, we've heard a lot about shea butter. I mean, I've heard cases where people come into the country to take it out there, produce it into something, and they bring it here. So there's so much need, or there's a market for shea butter that I don't think we'll be able to discover much here in Nigeria. So tell me about shea butter.
Now, Shea is a nut, actually, because most people don't know that this product comes from a nut. It's a tree that produces a sweet, edible nut that when you eat the pulp, you find the nut inside, and then you crack and then process into shea butter. Now, these trees are they are perennial trees. They just grew up there. It wasn't planted. Nature delivered it to those particular regions. It is mostly found in Western Nigeria, that's on the Sahel region, and Northern Nigeria. You find those nuts. All the way to the Middle Belt, you find shea butter trees. Now, these trees are there, and the village discovers that this is an economic tree. We can use it to better our community. We can use it to bring community commerce to our villages. But it's now so enclosed that we try to educate these villages that what you have can make your village better, can bring water. Because most of these villages, you go there, you find there's no water, but they still find a way to process the butter to the best of their ability and still get it out to the market for people to buy. So the tree is an economic tree that can change the economic, what's that word now in the economic circle? Well, it's something that can change our give us economic advantage in this country if properly harnessed.
So what are the benefits? Why is the world really looking for shea butter now?
Shea butter
Because it's been there for a long time, but suddenly it's selling. Everyone tells you, oh, this with shea butter, that with shea butter, even chocolates with shea butter.
Yes, I was just thinking about that. Shea butter is just one word, Seth. It's anti-inflammatory. You have a boil, it's darn painful, right? Just put shea butter in there. By the third day, it's okay. It will make it either ready enough to get the nasties out, and then you continue using it, you won't have a scar from the boil that you get. Shea butter has vitamin A, E, F. Shea butter has, this is just from the butter now, from the pulp itself, it has more vitamin C than oranges from the pulp. So the benefits are enormous. There are so many. You have cracked feet, you use Shea on it. It will soften the crack and close it up. That's how magical the butter is. So the benefits are pretty wide and so many, but these are just a few of them.
Okay, so for us, with what you've mentioned, those environments or those villages that have shea butters should be like cities by now, But I've heard that part of the problems we have is the ability to produce, get our products to international standards. I mean, compared to our neighboring country like Ghana, you find that when you go abroad, in most of the stores, you find the products with Ghana. And I've also heard that our products can be far more better than what they have. So why is our product below standard, and how do we get our women to produce to meet up with international standard?
Yeah, we have the best shea butter. There's no argument there, right? But the thing is, most of the time when we're producing, we just produce because we're just producing like for home. We're not putting maybe the outside world in mind when during production. Now, what my company decided to do was to meet these international standards, we need to carry the grassroots women along because they are the ones who do production.
Hold on. What are the processes of meeting up international standard?
To meet international standard, we have to meet international standard, it's mostly because of traceability. From the time the tree starts fruiting to the time it falls on its own, it's best to let it fall on its own and then we pick. Those are some of the standards to follow. Now, we need to have clean water, which we hardly have. So clean water is also part of get it to international standard. Now, to get to international standard, it is not just only NAFDAC to regulate. We also have what either the EU standard or the EcoSet standard for organic processing that we need to follow. It's a bit expensive, but we try as much as we can to meet up to it.
We're going to talk more on that, but I'll take a short break, and when I come back, we'll look at the ways we can actually go about meeting up that standard, no matter how difficult it is, so that we can change the lives of the women in the rural area. All right, that's Total Woman. We'll take a short break. When we'll come back, we'll talk more on the economic parts and the standardization of our products. Please don't go away.
I can be all I ever dream of, oh yeah. I am a total woman, yeah. I am a total woman, oh. I am a total woman.
Welcome back. It's still Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio, and I've been speaking with my guests, Priscilla Akwansi Wonsu, and we've been talking about shea butter and how we can uplift the well-being and the economic power of the Nigerian woman, and also see how that product can meet up with international standards. And that's where we stop talking about international standards and how hard it is. Other nations have been doing it. Other countries have been doing it. In fact, we've seen how they've exported their local produce and the local materials. Even some countries export their dance and all that, and it's up to the standard. So what are those difficult orders that we need to cross?
You know, as women, sometimes it's difficult accessing funds, right? But thankfully, the Minister of Trade and Investment is highly vested now in women SMEs, and things are changing. Even the Vice President, Yemi Osibanjo, is highly vested in women in SME, right? And everything is running so fast, they're trying to make it easier for women to be able to access funds so that we're able to meet up with all of this, being able to meet up international standard, get our labelings right, because labeling is another issue, get our packaging right so that we be at par with our peers in other countries. Now, for international standardization, what we need, because we're talking between $2,500 to $3,000 US dollars, and you find most women, we can't meet up with that. I started I started trying to get my international certification with EcoCert since 2018. Yes, there are documentation, so it's not something that happens in a jiffy, but there are documentations that you need to follow. So in following that process, it takes a while. And then, of course, there's the payments to be made. And so when some of these women hear this amount of money for getting those standards, they are discouraged from it. And so they will want the government to be able to help out to either pay for these standardizations or make it subsidized by helping the women, whether to pay a certain percentage, and then the women can continue from one end so that we all meet it. Because it's not just the cosmetic, the shea itself, but if you're making cosmetics or you're selling hibiscus, you still need to have those standards for getting those products out to meet international market. And because we're taking it internationally, we make more money for our country's economy. So those are some of the hurdles that the women face that we could really need government backing.
Really need. But are there sufficient support for women? What happens to cooperatives? What happens to the arm of government put in place, to see that, because it's not all about the women, I think. When you talk about standardization, it's about the country. Because it's the label, the green, white, green, that will be on your label. So how can we provide sufficient funds? What exactly are the problems? And what do you think can be done? Either to bypass it or to solve it?
You see, the thing with international standard certification is that from the start of any business, it is expected that you follow all the protocols that you're supposed to meet. You see, if you're working, let's say, Shea, for example, the water we use, how we pick the nuts, how we crack the nuts, how we mill the nuts, how we finally get it to the end product of the butter is of great importance in getting the documentation for those certifications. Now, if you don't have those protocols, you can't even be talking about meeting standards. Meeting standards start from you meeting certain protocols. It's like a simple quality control. We cannot be having process going on and then we find hair. We can't. It has to be that your process is seamless from beginning to the end product where you now jive.
How does the organization help these women to achieve?
So what we do with the women is we teach them the protocols for certifications, which is that this is how the nuts should be washed, should be dried for this number of hours, down to the cooking, because you cook the nuts so that you get the oil together. Down to the cooking, how long does it have to be cooked for? Those are some of the protocols. You pass, if let's say it's supposed to be cooked for an hour and you pass it by an hour, 15 minutes, already you've broken the protocol. So you see some of those things you now have to, it takes a while, but oftentimes the women are getting to understand that if we don't meet protocols, we're not able to sell at premium, because the product that comes out of the village I work with is sold at premium. You find people telling me concerning my product, is it not that same ori? I'm like, yes, it's the same ori, but this is not that ori, because I know how my women processed it to this end product. So I'm proud to say that our product is not just your regular shea butter, but it's a product that is using EcoCert protocols, to process until we get our certification.
It is possible to get it.
Oh, absolutely.
But we need to follow the process.
That's
and then
right.
we need more women to come into learning it,
yes,
and then teaching.
Exactly. That's why we're trying to set up a tolling plant where other women can come with their product, right? We can even be their eye if they want, to make sure that this woman, let's say she's doing spices, comes in and she's doing spices, we can help her to follow protocols for spices so that she is properly certified when EcoCert come for their audits to ascertain that her protocols for spices are met.
So, thank you. I've learned quite a lot, but there's so much happening in here that I need to know for my simple use at home. What is it about shea butter that I need to know so that I can use it even in where I am, and it will still be productive without the international standard thing you're talking about?
Yeah, Shea is very versatile, so you can use it either on its own. This raw shea is either you use it on its own. Our products are sealed to keep in the freshness. Right? It's either you use this on its own, right? Or you can, some people say it's hard.
Yes.
Some people say it's hard to use it straight up like that. Then I recommend you use a carrier oil. There are many carrier oil. It can be moringa oil, it can be neem oil, it can be almond oil. You can use that to put, as long as you know the ratio, because you're trying to get it to be soft enough for it to glide on the skin, right? Now, the simplest way to work this out, I'll make a simple sample of how I use the cover, of how to use. If you don't want to use it straight, right, you can just fetch. Let me just do a tablespoon of that. Right, and then we have organic certified moringa oil here. And then you can just put a bit of that in there.
Now, when you talk about oil, olive oil, coconut oil?
Olive oil, it's
okay.
fine. Okay. Olive oil is fine. Coconut oil is fine. So depending on how fluid you want it to be, right? On how fluid you want it to be, you just mash it together like that. And while you're working on it, you find that the slight hardness is melting and giving you that. Becomes creamy and easy to manipulate, right? And then, now in this mixture, you can, it doesn't need, with shea, you don't need so much, don't need anything elaborate when mixing shea, like that. Right? Now, what I need to do is bring it out there.
Okay.
And that's it. This you can use as either like I said, either in its raw form.
No, there's something,
like
when
that.
I use Ori, usually,
Okay.
it sticks. There's this heaviness about it. But with mixture with the oil now, it makes it
It's more fluid, yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So I can mix it with any oil?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And then one other thing, the thing with shea butter product is it doesn't like to be added with synthetic. I personally recommend when you're using any organic product, you should use black soap as your body cleanser of choice. Now, when you're bathing with black soap that is pre-mixed with turmeric, honey, sandalwood, or other nice, or even hibiscus flower, you find that you know, like this big drinks company will say it goes together. Shea butter and black soap goes together. So it will give your skin the natural glow. That's why in my product brand, we say it's just as nature intended. If you're fair, you stay fair. If you're brown, you stay brown. If you're dark, it just enhances those skin tones. That's what it does.
Thank you so much for taking us into another level. But thank you so much. It's been quite educative. And the amazing thing is they're all natural products. Just going back to the grassroots, but knowing the right proportion and what to do and how to use it. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and educating us on this. And I think if every woman would want to do business, I think we should begin to consider the shea butter as business, no matter what, in your local environment. But what would distinguish you is the knowledge that you have about the products now. All right, so that's it for us on Total Woman. My name is Mute Olori, and I'll be with you again with another guest, another issue next week.